Welcome, party people, to another edition of Cat Calls. I am Cat Bine, and this is my show that I do every Thursday here at twitch.tv/catbine, K-A-T-B as in boy, E-I-N. You know how to spell it, you know how to say it. You are winners in my book, especially Dog Party Guy, Enrique Amata, and Vince579, and Hank Thoreau, and everybody who's here with me in the chat. And if you're not here with me in the chat, maybe that's because you're watching this later on YouTube, because of course I post all of my Cat Calls episodes to YouTube after the fact. And if you are watching this on YouTube and you haven't yet joined us on the live show, what in the fuck are you waiting for? Do I need to email you a snail mail invite? Because I will. I swear. If you send me a direct message of your address, I'll send you a nice handwritten note saying, please come on by the show. We'd love to have you. Yeah, see, Dog Party Guys saying hello to you too. It's the past, it's the future, it's a whole crazy internet time warp thing. And you know who else really likes time warps? I bet, I'm going to venture to guess, that our guest today likes time warps. And everybody, please give a big round of applause, whatever stage in time and space you are, for Elohim. Oh my goodness, we are just going out of our minds, and Elohim is the best guest for that sort of energy. I think I was first exposed to Elohim via her Louis the Child collaboration, Love is Alive, which came out in 2017, but honestly, it's kind of hard for me to remember now when I exactly discovered Elohim, but I know that as soon as I dove into her work, especially as a solo artist, she's collaborated with a lot of people, but I was immediately intrigued by the honesty and the almost whimsical way that she approaches singing about these kind of heavy topics like anxiety and existentialism and the gross kind of oversaturated situation that we call life and society in our modern era. In 2019, I got this opportunity to interview her for Billboard Dance for a series we do there called 20 Questions. I actually linked to that in the chat here on Cat Calls. Oh, Enrique Amata's using the ring ring emote. We love to see it, everybody. But if you're watching this on YouTube, I will link that 20 questions below. And she really was very open with me and unafraid to talk about all manner of things. We talked about art, we talked about her lyrics, we talked about her journey. Nightshade, what's good? Nice to see you. But even though I had that opportunity to speak with her a couple years ago, I am jonesing to get her on the phone because the music that she's making right now is fucking amazing, okay? The Journey to the Center of Myself, it's this trilogy of EPs, and it is really a next level take on, I think, who Elohim is as an artist and what she's capable of. Volume 2 came out a few weeks ago, and I'm going to kick things off with a title track from Volume 1, which came out earlier this year. Journey to the Center of Myself. Get ready for some trippy, cartoony shit. And when we come back, we'll have Elohim on the line, so don't go anywhere. And remember, this is just as much your show as it's my show, so have your questions ready. We're gonna have fun, okay, Viekis? We're gonna have fun. Via keys? I'm not good at the notes.
Let's take a journey to a place where worry is a concept that we just can't comprehend. Let's take a journey. Let's take a journey. Let's take a journey. Let's take a journey.
And here we are. I got distracted because we were just chit-chatting. But hello, Elohim. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so stoked that we get to hang out.
Yeah, me too. I know, it's really fun. And from your perspective, we're just having a Zoom chat, you know. From everyone else's perspective, there's all these crazy colors and doodads, but we're really stripping it down to just the bare soul of the thing, which is fun.
Yeah.
I want to ask right away, what is on your hat? What's happening there? What's happening there?
Oh, what's happening is true romance and transcendental meditation in Paris, Texas.
Wow, okay. Did you experience that firsthand?
I did not, but it was a gift, and I'm obsessed with the hat.
Amazing! And the chat is obsessing, and they're excited. Someone's name is Skinny Legs X. That's so awesome.
Oh my gosh! Hi, I love you. I know who that is. I love you.
You know, I was gonna say I was listening to the debut album, Elohim, and I was listening to Skinny Legs, and the line from All Apologies, all we are is all we are, popped out to me at the end.
I love that part. I miss that part because I don't play it live because I go into the remix of Skinny Legs, which is one of my favorite parts of the show. But I always forget about the verse, and it was one of my favorite moments of writing music.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm glad that I brought it up, and I'm glad that Skinny Legs walked into the chat, so we had an opportunity to say that. Are you a big Nirvana fan? It must have been. It is a throwback to All Apologies, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, Nirvana to me, I'm actually in a room and there's a painting of Kurt Cobain in this room, actually.
Oh.
But yes, I feel really inspired by Nirvana, and just, I watched a documentary not too long ago, and it was really interesting to see the mental health side of things, and how mental health has been in the music industry for a very long time, and only now is it being talked about. So yeah, from like a mental health aspect, when you listen to those lyrics, you can tell that they're really coming from a dark place. And I think people are like, oh, I want to be like this person who's like this rock star and went through all these things, but like ultimately passed away. And you don't want to go through what these people are going through. It's horrible, and if you do go through those things, it's actually nice to have somebody to relate to.
Absolutely. I totally can relate to that statement, because I think maybe it's something about being really young and being caught in the hormonal headfuck that is like your preteen and your teenage years. But like, there's a moment where you kind of do, in spite of yourself, romanticize this like struggling
100%.
artist image, and then hopefully you mature enough at some point in your life to realize that that's not what you want to go through, and maybe you have to go through it a little bit. You got to go through it to get through it a little bit.
That's why I say that. Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I've struggled so much, and when I'm going through it, people around me are like, I've had people say to me, like, I didn't know that mental health was a real thing until I experienced firsthand, like watching you go through this. And they're like, it's like nothing I've ever experienced. And, someone who's actually on tour with me, his sister struggled really bad with, depression and anxiety. And he was like, I always kind of like discounted or discredited her because I didn't really think it was real, because you often don't see it because people are, walking this life and having to hide it and, kind of pretend we're okay. And so yeah, I feel like I've been, this way of kind of showing that to people, and that's been, rewarding, but it is also, it is a struggle. And yes, it does inspire really weird and real lyrics, but it is also, a big struggle to go through it. So yeah, but sometimes you gotta go through it to get it.
I think you always have to. It's like, did you ever watch, or at least you have to know about Dora the Explorer, right?
Totally.
And like, it's kind of like, we can't go over the anxiety, we can't go under the anxiety, because we have to go through it.
That's so true. I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, you're the Dora of electronic music.
Oh,
I don't know.
gosh.
Sorry, that's weird. I don't know if you want to be the Dora. Anywho, no, I appreciate that you have always been so candid about those struggles. And I didn't mean for us to kind of immediately start talking about this subject, but that's just to your credit that you don't shy away from being honest about these things. And I think it's unfortunate that maybe some people can see that honesty and be like, oh, is it some sort of put on or something? But also you have a fun way of creating a whimsical sonic universe around all of these things, which I think is courageous, because you're not just letting yourself get stuck in the muck, in the mire of the whole thing. I don't know if there's a question in there so much as just a thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. Yeah. And sometimes, I'll even make a song, like I have a song called Good Day, Bad Day. And it's like, even Journey to the Center of Myself, it has these elements of sounding kind of fun and happy, but the lyrics are, quite painful and just more real, I would say, than anything. And, but much like anxiety or mental health, sometimes on the outside, you have to sort of like, put on this, front of being okay. And so it's sort of that like juxtaposition of like trying to go through life and then also going through that at the same time, and, living in these two worlds. Because I do have a very like fun side to me, and I do love life most days. And I love those days where I feel like I'm thriving. And, so yeah, it's interesting. I don't think like, yeah, just because the lyrics are, you know, very real, it doesn't have to go with really sad music. It can still, you know, be a party song or whatever, just like a fun electronic song, but really, you know, speak truth. And then maybe also will trick some people into listening to it and then hearing those lyrics.
It's the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down.
Yes, exactly.
We're just like, we're dancing. Wait, what was that lyric? Therapy? This is therapy. I mean, live music can be therapy, so, you know.
Totally. And like, I think I always say, I had a Twitch show actually, music is medicine, and I really do think that it is. And music is magic. Like, it comes out of thin air, and it's therapy for me to create it, and then to be therapeutic for people to listen to it. So it's like it's the best thing ever.
Yeah. I want to give some quick shout outs. Chow Boo Music says they're here. They were getting a haircut. I hope your haircut finished, or maybe you just stop mid buzz. That would be fun as well. Dog parties.
Boo, I love you so much. I can't wait to see it red.
All right, everyone is here. Everyone's enjoying it so far, which I love to see.
Yes.
Speaking of how Nirvana and Kurt Cobain could be a voice for you to maybe lean on musically and spiritually coming up, were there other artists that kind of set the path for the stepping stones that became the beautiful Elohim that we have today?
Yeah, I've always been just such a big fan of Radiohead and the sounds that Tom York, the singer, creates, and his voice. And, you know, he's so good at creating these really beautiful, kind of like tangible melodies that are also, you know, they can fit into a sort of like mainstream world, but they're much deeper than that, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's one of those bands that always stayed true to their sound and what they're doing, and evolved, but, you know, without doing it in a way that, you know, didn't feel right. I mean, they haven't put out anything that I was like, no, I'm not into this, you know, and
which is kind of mind blowing after the like 20
mind-blowing,
years
yeah,
or more that they've been a
exactly.
band. Yeah.
And then like, so even the new music I hear, and, you know, for me, it's like, I want to hear music that I'm like, I've never heard that before, or like, how I love to, like, Radiohead's one of the only bands I hear. I'm like, how did they do that? You know,
Yeah.
How did they make it sound like that? And so yeah, I've definitely been a huge fan of you know, Tom York and Radiohead, and then Bjork is amazing too, melodically. I love. And then when I'm home, usually I'm not home a lot, but the last year and a half I've been home a lot, and I love listening to vinyl when I'm home. It's kind of my only way of listening to music, and I love listening to old jazz records on vinyl. It's like the best.
Yeah, okay. I'm hearing a lot of sonic experimentation here is the running thread.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm big into sound and just like weird experimental sounds. That's what kind of inspires me to write and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I appreciate that about you as a musician, and I am that sort of fan. I love a weird noise. I love it to sound texture. I mean, I'm really into Mr. Wazzo, hence my little flat Eric, and he's another weirdo where everything's just bizarre. I know that you grew up playing piano, and your dad was a musician, and your brother played guitar, so this musicality was kind of all around you. But when did you start to push that experimental edge? Like, were you getting weird on the piano? I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, totally. No, it was possible. And because I did it, and I would get in trouble with my teacher because, you know, I would get very just like animated when I was playing. And I would also, you know, just like take a chord and play a bunch of, you know, play it over and over and like loop it and then kind of like sing over it. And I don't know, I just never took the classical side of it too seriously because to me in my brain, I was like, I want to create my own music. And so much of classical music is playing as that goes on the paper. And you actually get like in trouble with your teacher if you don't play it exactly as it's written, which to me, I was like, that seems so crazy.
You're like, I'm interpreting the music, okay?
Exactly. So yeah, I would, you know, just like sit at the piano and write little songs, even though I was supposed to be practicing like these Bach pieces. And And yeah, and then it was really like when I got a computer, it's when I started doing, just like sampling and stuff like that. And, hearing other artists do that, it just definitely was inspiring. I was like, I want to do that. I don't want to play classical, but I also like classical. So I'm going to fit this in some way. So now my show, I'll like shred a little, but not too much.
Yeah. I mean, well, and in liking classical, but wanting to get a little weird is kind of where jazz comes in, right? You're like,
Totally,
oh, okay.
like acid jazz and experimental jazz stuff is so cool, and that's why I love it so much. Also, and part of me wishes I grew up playing jazz music instead, because jazz is the opposite. That's like all your interpretation of what you want to play, and soloing and learning by ear and stuff, opposed to reading and really looking at a sheet and having to play exactly what's there. So yeah.
Well,
but then there's jazz players who are like, you have chops though because you grew up playing classical.
There's always going to be some asshole. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Not that those people are assholes, but
yeah.
Okay, I have to share this joke. Riki Amato said I was going to learn piano, but I kept losing the keys. And I thought that was such a good dad joke. I had to share it. And
Riki,
Nightshade
I love you.
Nightshade says same for them, left piano lessons because they just couldn't hack the strong stick up the back. But you made it to the weird left of center of yourself spot in music anyway. You persevered. Talk to me about your first memories of grabbing a computer and starting to experiment with sound there. Did you literally just jump into weird sound design accidentally, or were you trying to make melodies? How did it happen?
I think probably the first weird thing was getting just some weird piano keyboard from my parents for Christmas, and I remember it would say, this is so weird. It would go da 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 da, and then it would go, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And I would just sit there, and it was like the wedding song or whatever, and then it'd be like, this man's voice, like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I should find this.
That was a preset on this thing?
Yeah, it sounds so weird.
That is crazy.
So I would just sit there and be like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
That's amazing.
And then I got a computer. I grew up very very, very humble beginnings, and had nothing growing up. But my parents were very adamant about making sure that we learned music and did a sport, and so they kind of put everything into that, and in eating very healthy.
Those are good points to stick to. Exactly. Oh, you just went silent. I don't know why you went silent. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I'm turning off my Bluetooth in case it's not like anyone else. I don't think can anyone hear me? My microphone is still working. Uh-oh. If you want to try to troubleshoot, we can play I'm Lost and do a troubleshoot. There you are. Oh, wait. Yes.
AirPods.
Okay, your AirPods might have died. I don't know what was happening there.
Weird. They're not. They're like. I've made sure to fully charge them. It's weird. Okay.
It's okay. I can hear you.
Perfect.
We had some turbulence, but we lived through it. Goddamn turbulence. I hate it. No.
Okay. So.
Are you sure? No, just kidding. That was the universe fucking with us. They were like, "Are you sure?"
Oh my gosh! Imagine it just started playing.
I know, right?
It's been so long, but yeah. So I would mess around with that, and then so I didn't really have a computer growing up or anything. We would go to health food stores a lot, and I thought that was because we were poor, but it turns out that healthy food is actually more expensive.
Right.
But anyway, they were kind of like hippie-ish parents, great, amazing people. So I had that keyboard, and then I finally was able to get a computer, and then I had GarageBand on there.
Yes.
And just like a little MIDI controller. And that was like really when the fun started, because then you could, record into the computer and then, play just like, there's endless endless opportunity in sounds and stuff. And then I got into working in Logic, and now I work on Ableton. And you can get, like, there's just so much you can do on the computer, which is amazing. And I feel more grateful than I ever have in my life to have my hands and my skills of playing piano, because over the pandemic, I produced an album in my bedroom, and I was able to play every part and, play weird things because I learned how to play piano, and I still have that skill. So that was, I literally during the pandemic was like, I'm so grateful for my hands.
I mean, I think we all learned, hopefully, to be grateful for the basics during this horrifying last year and a half, especially that first month where we didn't really know what was happening. Although I was talking to my partner the other day, and I was like, I am starting to have a weird nostalgia for that moment when we really didn't know what was going on, and everyone watched the freaking Tiger King at the same time, and that everyone was inside their house, other than the poor, wonderful human beings who had to work and who had to keep our society rolling. But there
was something, there was definitely something in that moment that I know a lot of people are feeling, kind of like the nostalgia of that, because it was, we're always going, and it makes sense. And I know people are like, I feel guilty that I enjoyed this a bit, and it's like, don't feel guilty. I mean, we as humans in this society, we literally are just going nonstop, and we never get to feel that sort of. I didn't feel anxiety for a year and a half because there was not I was just home. At the end of it, it really screwed me because it was such a big setback for me. Even though I enjoyed not feeling anxiety for a year and a half and just being home, it was such a setback. Oh my gosh. Because then all of a sudden we come out of it and it's worse than it ever was before, it's the most anxiety, but creating music during the pandemic was such an interesting feeling because it was very much reminded me of when I was first starting Elohim, and I didn't I didn't put any music out yet, so it was just I'm just gonna make whatever I want. And the pandemic kind of felt like that because there was a time when we were I have no idea when this is gonna end. I don't know if I'll ever do a show again. And honestly, because everyone in the music industry was I don't know, if we're ever gonna even do shows again. And it's still weird and still oh my god, is this gonna get canceled?
I know.
So it was weird, but also yes, there was something very. Somebody said it felt like being a kid on summer vacation.
Yes. Or you're having a sleepover, an endless sleepover or something, except all your friends are on Zoom. I don't know.
The stress of, every time you leave your house, something can happen, or, your loved ones. No one was flying. No one was going anywhere. It wasn't big crowds. So it's just and I stress about that stuff all the time. So for me, that was a big one. It's okay, I know my family's safe and at home.
Yeah.
It was a control thing, I think. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty normal that we all are kind of that was sort of nice. It was this super simple life. Where, you only see in movies.
Exactly. And now, of course, with the hindsight of knowing that, whatever bad happened, and we lived through it. If we lived through it, we lived through it. I'm happy to hear that you didn't experience much anxiety during the quarantine, because you mentioned to me off camera that you are someone who likes to stay busy to kind of keep the anxiety at bay. But it's good that you had the nice kind of let me journey into myself. I want to stop myself. There's a couple things I want to say. First, I want to say that Girl Jackie said your performance at the Hard Barbecue, I believe it was so good. How did it feel to do the live stream? Yeah. Well, I guess unless maybe you're at Hard Summer. I guess Hard Summer just happened. But you did do a live stream as well. Okay, I got confused. Well, how was it doing the live stream? Because that must have been kind of an odd experience, that whole live stream series of quarantine.
I will say the first one was really fun, and then it progressively just got more and more it's you want to feel the energy of a crowd. There's nothing like that, So the hard one was actually really fun because there was, I think, 3 people in the room, and that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 camera people. There was probably 4 or 5 people in the room, and that felt like I was performing to a crowd. So that was really fun, and it was so funny because I'm one of those people that no matter what, I'll just go like full all out when I'm performing, and I've gotten very used to it, and like also rehearse in a room alone, and I'll like go full out, and so I went like full out at this at the hard.
These 3 people got the show of a lifetime. On everyone online.
One of the girls working there, she went up to my manager after and was like, "Wow, like I haven't seen somebody go that like full on out at one of these because I also like play and sing, and
right.
the rest of the people were DJs, so it was really funny."
Yeah. Well, it's fun to watch you work a million. That's the other thing I was thinking. I was like, oh, I wonder if while she's performing, there's a special sort of freedom in that moment because your brain is super preoccupied with like 700 things. I can't imagine.
Actually, I'll tell you a little secret. In my so I wear in-ears during my show, and I get so lost in the music and so just like I feel just so in the moment because I realize it's my moment to actually let go. And when I figured that out, I was like, oh my gosh, I love performing. And so it's my moment to like get the demons out and, you know, share love and like just feel free. And so in my in-ears, I've got, you know, I have a click track going, which is just like
smart.
I keep time.
A metronome, as they called it back in the day, in the ye old times.
As was metronome, yeah. And then I have one on my piano that does this.
Nice.
And it doesn't take batteries. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. It's just like an endless...
Is it gravity?
I think so, yeah. It's like it has a heavy metal thing, and then you can like slide it up and down, and it goes. It's really amazing that somebody came up with this.
Wow. Oh yeah, because I guess they're older than batteries. Like I never thought about it.
We'll have to wind it up.
That's smart, like a clock. Okay.
Anyway,
fun fact.
So in my ears, because I get so lost in the music and the performance, and I don't want to have to stress about anything, even though it is stressful because I'm on there by myself and anything can happen, obviously, especially when you're using electronics. And so in my ear, I put lots of reminders. So I'll be like, we're going to the bridge. Or like if there's a section where I always forget like a lyric or something, I'll speak it into the thing. And so I have them throughout the entire set.
Okay, that's amazing. What a good secret.
So helpful because, you know, if you're just in that moment where you're just like feeling the music and so lost in it and you feel like you're in outer space, it's like it'll remind you. Otherwise, sometimes I miss stuff. So, you know, yeah, that's very, very helpful.
Okay, now that we said I'm lost and you're saying lost, people in the chat are like, did she say lost? Are we lost? What's happening? And you said, let's go to the bridge. And I thought, let's go to the rave. So let's just think about I'm lost. What was that a song that you made in quarantine? Because it sounds like a I'm going to do whatever I want kind of song.
No, I actually made it before quarantine.
Ooh.
I finished it in quarantine because the first time I performed it was in the live stream during the pandemic, and that was when I released it. And I made the video the first, I think, it was like the 3rd week that I was in quarantine.
Oh wow!
And I had to come off of like being on tour and stuff. But so yeah, so I actually, this is weird, but Journey to the Center of Myself and I'm Lost were the same song, and then we decided to cut it in and make it 2 different songs, which is so awesome, and I'm so happy we did because Journey to the Center of Myself I've had on an Apple commercial and now on a Facebook commercial.
Wow! Fuck yeah! Get that money. It's such a fucking crazy song to be in commercials, but I get it because it's got that like great upbeat. It sounds really that chorus. Your voice is like layered, and you're chanting, and it's like yeah, but it's also like what?
I know the lyrics. Watch yourself, a microdose is turning into something gross. Your eyes are leaking, transitioning. Where will we end up next season? My lips are chewed, my brain is spewed. Enough of this is getting stewed. The chemicals are turning quick, the neurologics getting fixed.
Yes, the line about, I wrote it down because I wanted to say it, but the one about it's hard to talk without my tongue. I should have swallowed it. That was dumb.
Apocalyptic rising lungs. I can speak without my tongue. I shouldn't have swallowed it. That was dumb.
That line, it makes me laugh so much, and then I'm also like, that's fucking dark. Like,
So dark.
anyways, I want to play the I'm Lost video for everybody. It sounds like people know I'm Lost, but we're gonna play it for them just because it's good. We're gonna play it and then we'll come back. And
So bored without a thing to do. Let's go to the rave. Now rave.
Hi.
Clearly Blurry had never heard that song before and said super dope track. It's amazing.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was one that when I heard it, it like stopped me in my tracks a little bit, and I was like, okay, and I like the way you use the "let's go to the like that reminds me of your keyboard voice. That's like, are you sure? I like that sort of thing. But Journey to the Center of Myself is the real quarantine project. Yeah, talk to me about this series of albums, trilogy set. It's very cool that you're releasing it in stages. Was it made in stages?
So I actually had the concept Journey to the Center of Myself before I went on the group therapy tour, which was my headlining tour in 2020 that was canceled because of the pandemic.
Yeah,
and Lollapalooza was also supposed to happen 2020 that summer and a bunch of festivals. So I was planning to release a full album called Journey to the Center of Myself summer 2020. But then everything, happened with the pandemic, and it just didn't feel right to put on an album, especially that close to, the tour. And it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then, I was at home and I just started making so much music. And then I ended up producing the final installation. The fourth one is I produced in my bedroom alone. And it's very different from anything I've ever made. And that was in the pandemic. And it felt like the final, journey to the center of myself for this chapter, at least. I mean, I don't think you'll ever get to that place, but it was interesting how this whole experience over the last year and a half was really, really getting to the core of me that I wouldn't have otherwise. So, that's kind of the silver lining within this last year and a half was getting to that place and really, being in the solitude or whatever and being in my bedroom and kind of pushing myself to create so much. And I was very capable of a lot of things I didn't know that I was capable of. And so I learned to trust myself a lot during the process as well. And, I have hands that I, studied piano for years and I can do it, and I can hear the sound, but I still listen to the project that I made in my room and I'm like, I think I blacked out the whole experience of making this because I think that it's really amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did I make this? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, incredible. How did you push yourself? You said that is this the first time you've made the body of work entirely yourself? You seem to imply that when you were talking about it earlier. You said you maybe would have never realized that you could do so many things. Which is something I have heard from other artists about quarantine as well. But I'd love to hear more about how you discovered new tricks in this time.
I think we were all kind of forced to in a way, but also at the beginning of the pandemic, I was just like, I want nothing to do with music. This is awful. Especially coming from a place of I had to work so hard on myself to be able to leave my house, get on an airplane, get on stage without vomiting and having panic attacks and stuff. So for me, it was oh my gosh, this is horrible. I'm finally at like this place and I feel really good and I'm headlining this tour. And so I was just like, I don't want anything to do with music. So yeah, when I got home, I just like for 2 weeks basically just like laid on the couch. I'd say I felt depression more than anything during that year and a half because, you know, my safe place is home. I just like had to work really hard to, you know, be able to leave my safe place.
I mean, it was a time of mourning at the same time, you know? You had to mourn the changes, the tour, so much
And
going
the
on.
loss, you know, the loss and just like seeing a world that was really struggling and so many people struggling. But one thing I will say that I got closer to, I went on Twitch a lot and I feel like the community got closer than ever during the pandemic. And that was really beautiful. And you know, I mean, it's just one thing and probably one time in our entire lives that like every single person in the world went through this.
Exactly.
I'm saying I know we'll never have that kind of a, you know, connection with people. So that was interesting too. And like, you know, trying to find the silver lining, I would say that was one of those silver lining things. But yeah, I hadn't done a whole, obviously I would, you know, make little things at home or whatever and then bring it into the studio, right? And then, you know, I love collaborating. I love working with other people. And I think I just was like, oh, well, they're faster at the computer, so I'll just tell them what to do. And then like, you know, that's a better way of making music. And this really, you know, pushed me to like sit in my room by myself and make a whole project. And I made the first song and then I was like, wow, like I can't stop listening to this. I love this. And I just kept making them. And I made a fake name and everything because I didn't think that would ever come out.
Really?
Yeah, I called it Thelonious Monk Fruit.
Okay,
And-
great name.
And I didn't think it would ever come out. And so it was just such a freeing feeling too, because I was just like, I'm just having fun and making something I genuinely love. And it just felt like a cool like evolution of, you know, what I was making. And when I'm making stuff myself, I do it so unconventionally that like I would just be making weird sounds and whatever. So then I sent it to my manager and he was like, the world needs to hear this. I can't do a British accent. I can only do an Australian.
Amazing. Wow. Well, let's hear it. Let's pretend your manager's Australian.
Well, I can say like so dope. Like this is so dope.
That is really good. Oh my God. Okay. Well, turns out your manager's British though, I guess.
He was British, and he was like, the world needs. He was like, darling, you make too much music. And I was like, okay. And he's like, no, it's okay. I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're like.
And it was really beautiful because he was like, the world should hear all of it. And I was like, wow, usually managers don't say. They're usually like, let's pick a single.
Oh, I want to hear that managers always say that. Managers should be your biggest fan.
And we hadn't been working together that long. We actually started working together right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow, what a moment. Holy shit.
Yeah, so I was like, that was that moment. I was like, wow, I'm really like, I'm with the right team because that's, you know, music's fine. It's the weirdest music I've ever made. And like, they're like, this is awesome and should be put out. So yeah, it was amazing. And I'm really excited. I don't know. It's definitely weird.
That's cool. I mean, well, okay, so you had already made some of these other tracks before quarantine because I was listening to Creatures from Volume 1. It is? Okay, because that's a weird one. I like it. You're having some fun with the noises there.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's me going, Creatures.
I know. There's even some weird like, I don't even know.
I know, we were getting so weird. So my brother's girlfriend has this cat, and the studio that we share is underneath his house, and they have this cat.
Oh my gosh! Hello, creature. Look at that nose. It's got the perfect like weird little nose.
Such a creature. His name is Francis, and so he was upstairs like making all this noise, and I just kept being like,
I love it.
Yeah, I've been loving creating with my brother because, like, I think that when you're creating, you should feel total freedom and, you know, no judgment. Just like, and I like to be able to get as weird as I want because you can always like tone it down after and like turn it into something, you know, like a normal person would probably be like, why are you saying creatures like that? Like, that's not anything.
Because you're creative, god damn it. Well, I
Well,
was.
you can, like, put that on the computer and like sample it and like do weird stuff to it and then, make a song out of it. So
I was going to say, I have this image of you making music in a studio or in your room studio or whatever, and just being like a weird little creature yourself. I am just listening to it like this person must turn into a cartoon while they're making stuff. So happy to hear.
yes.
I'm happy to hear that.
Oh my gosh.
I also would be remiss if I did not ask about working with Big Frida on the song Strut. Please tell me that you got to have a real connection with Big Frida while making that song, or at any point. It seems like you were both. Yeah, talk. Just take it away. I'm hoping.
We put that out during the pandemic, but I actually performed Strut on my group therapy tour, but I didn't have her verse yet.
Okay.
And that was just somebody that I was like, oh my gosh, she would be literally, like, she embodies that song on a daily basis.
Yes,
like,
true.
And then we got her verse, and it was incredible. And then the only time I met her was we did an Instagram live, and I was like kind of nervous. She was the sweetest, down to earth, very like loving and very enlightened human being. And that was just the best. Like, so sweet, not intimidating at all. Like, so humble and sweet.
Yay,
so that was awesome.
that's great. And you did it live to the world. It wasn't just the two of you chatting. So
Yeah, and I had an F timer.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. I mean, I have such love for Big Frida, so I'm happy to hear that was positive, and I hope that you both are able to connect IRL maybe as the world starts to slowly open.
We keep talking about it. It would be so awesome. I miss New Orleans. She's in New Orleans, and I miss New Orleans so much. I love playing there, and I love such amazing food. There's amazing festivals there too. So I did voodoo there before the pandemic. So yeah, I hope. It's so weird. Usually I get to see people, so many different people throughout the year because I'll be touring and traveling. And so it's been really strange to not see so many people. But the only reason I get to see them kind of often is because of touring. And there hasn't been any of that. So
well, I'm hopeful that you get to return to the stage soon. I mean, you already have been a little bit.
I did 3 shows, yeah.
Yeah. How was it? Was it the big triumphant return that you needed, or was it a little more anxiety inducing than probably you would have liked?
It was the most anxiety inducing show that I had in shows and like weekend of travel that I've had in like years. And then basically I did the first show, and that was like my headlining show. It was a Lala side show, and I headlined in Chicago. It was so beautiful. So many people put out.
Love Chicago too.
Yeah. And, a lot of people flew out because they knew, like, oh my gosh. And so the last show I did was Grand Rapids on my group therapy tour, and the next night was supposed to be my first headlining show in Chicago. I got canceled.
Oh, wow. It's almost like you just picked right back up.
Yeah, and I flew home from Chicago, and then that was the next flight I went on was back to Chicago and headlining a show there. So it was kind of wild, full circle.
Wow.
But I absolutely like lost it before going on stage, and it was like one of the worst panic attacks I've had. And then the show was great. There was actually a moment in my encore where I stopped everything, and I was like, I'm having a really hard time. I've been having a really hard time like adjusting, and I wanted to perform this next song without any tracks, just like acoustic. And it wasn't planned at all. It was like my sound guy, Adam, is going to go me. But I just stopped it, and it was a full venue, and I just stopped everything, and it went dead quiet. And I was like, I need to talk to you guys.
Oh my God.
And then it's like, I want to perform. I was like, I was in tears, and I was like, I'm having a really hard time, and I really want to perform this next song. I'm just like, I feel like I need to acoustically. And it was a really beautiful moment. And then the next day with Lala, had an amazing show. It was like one of the best shows. And after Lala, I feel like I'm back. And then I did Hard Summer that Sunday. It was just a really like crazy first weekend back too. I had like tons of press and an acoustic performance, and then those 3 shows. So it's just like a lot.
That is a lot. But you know, from the perspective of your fans and the audience, to just be like, fuck it, guys, I'm gonna tell you something and we're gonna do something a little different, that's actually gonna be a huge memory for them and feel like a really special, intimate moment that they shared with you. So it's not like you let anyone down. I mean, sorry to your sound guy who maybe was pissed, but it's like turning the bad frown upside down or whatever, and like finding the magic and the mayhem, I guess.
It also, for me, like just singing, belting it out and just singing it with no other music, just the piano and just like belting it and like free and no click track in my ear or anything. That was very like, it got out a lot of those like demons for me.
What song was it?
Brain Dead.
Oh my gosh. That one's heavy too.
I had never done it acoustic before, so it was really special.
Wow. Do you have moments of that anywhere? We'll have to search for it online. I'm gonna find the moment.
I wasn't expecting it at all, so there's not, and it was a very like almost jarring moment because it went from like music and lights and this and that to just like no one knew on my team that I was doing it either. It just was like, I have to do this. So yeah, I think people were more just like in the moment, but one person did get a video.
Oh, good. Shout out that person. Sometimes it's okay that we have our phones.
I know. I'm so happy like that. There was only one video.
Yeah. And that's probably the appropriate amount, right? We just need the one. It's fine. Everyone put your phones down. Live in the moment. No. You said you called a part 4. I was under the impression that Journey to the Center of Myself was going to be a trilogy. Am I wrong? Is it a 4-parter?
4.
Incredible.
The 4th part is the one that I made in quarantine.
I heard.
I made a lot of stuff. And a lot of the songs I made, a majority of the songs were during quarantine. I had my time on my trip. And then, the last one is like 100%.
So,
but also 100% by myself. That makes sense.
It does. I read that part 1 is like the first steps of the journey. Part 2 is almost almost like trying to be perfectly happy. I don't know if that's like almost like the weird elation phase of your journey.
Pisces stage.
Yeah, talk to me more about these stages, because I didn't even know there was going to be a stage 4. So if you has as much as you freely feel comfortable to explain, you don't have to give it all away.
I'm an open book. Don't ask me too many questions. I'll tell you about So volume 1 was very much like this. It starts with Journey. It had to. Journey starts off the song. It has to. And then it has Strut. And it's kind of like, hey, like this confidence sort of thing. And then, and it had Nice on the first one too. So
yes.
It was very, very much about, finding your confidence. And then part 2 was very much living in this like dreamy Pisces world, and then ultimately you do come down from those things, and there's a darker side to like going to the center of yourself. And 3 is the color red, and it's much darker, and I tell stories that I've not told before. There's a song where I talk about growing up with basically nothing, and that I hadn't really told that story before. And then the single off of it is called Little Idiot, and that is I'm the Little Idiot. Aww. And it's about falling out with a friend, and that I wrote that during the pandemic because we hadn't spoken in 3 years. This was my best friend in the world. We hadn't talked in 3 years, and I was like, I'm gonna reach out, and I reached out, and she wrote me a really long email back. And the next morning, I went to the studio and I wrote a song about that. So,
wow.
And then part 4 is Blue, and part 4 feels like the moment when I really like access the center of myself, because I genuinely was sitting in a room making music by myself.
Yeah.
And I think I just didn't trust myself enough to do that before. And so this was like, self-acceptance and trusting myself.
Yes. I was going to ask, what did you find at the center? But it sounds like you found trust and
confidence and, faith in myself, that I can actually do these things and do them on my own. And I'm very capable of a lot of things that I didn't realize that I was.
Absolutely. I mean, what's so crazy about that is that we can, it's hard for us to learn that about ourselves. It's like you say in Nice. It's like you can see the capabilities of everyone around you and just still be telling yourself like, oh my gosh, but like, you're not, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that. You can't do this. And I'm glad that you found the hard center, hard in the sense of strength.
Yeah.
And that you also get to take us on this journey with you, because I bet that some people will feel that reflected in themselves a little bit. And everyone who did make it through quarantine, you better know that you are stronger than you realized when this all started.
So true. And I've had to remind myself that a lot,
It's a process.
Why am I falling back into these patterns that I, haven't been in, so long? But it's like, give yourself a break. You've just gone through, something that is the first time it's basically ever happened. The craziest thing that we'll probably ever go through,
Yes. Talk about a mirror moment where you're just like, would you like to see what you're made of, or like what's really going on?
It really did test us a lot. And, yeah.
Everyone's going on saying that the center is bubblegum, but not bubblegum pop.
I thought it was Tootsie Roll.
I know. How many licks does it get? 3. It's always 3 for whatever reason. Okay, I want to. I know. It should be 4. The 4 is the bite. You're gonna do the bite and then whatever. Are you planning? Are you even able to begin to plan a return to the stage in a live sense, in a tour sense? Are you venturing to even give yourself that hope yet, or are you tempering expectations?
I've been weary of doing another headlining tour, because there's still uncertainty, and I know people that are out on the road that are like, every day it's like this one could, and I would just, there's no way I could do another one and have it get canceled.
Oh my God, just heartbreaking, yeah.
So I'm like, I think we gotta wait till we're a little bit more in the clear. But I'm going to Red Rocks on Monday, and I'm doing 2 nights there with Allison Wonderland.
Oh yes, amazing! Another incredible artist.
She's amazing, and she's one of my best friends, and so it will be really fun. And then I go to Firefly the next week, and I'm doing 2 shows there, and then that's it. I'm done for the year with 5 shows as of now. I mean, I'm sure other things will pop up.
Right, yeah.
But it's been, it's nice to not have a full tour necessarily booked right now, just because there's still so much uncertainty. But I'll definitely think about it for 2022. Yeah. Time is so weird.
I know. Where did this whole fucking year go? I was like, I'm sorry. It's September.
Wow.
It's like 2020 was the slowest year for a moment there. I remember when the joke was like it was March for 5 years. And now all of a sudden it was just like a whole year goes by. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining. Chow Boo Music said at some point you got to check your DMs, and it's important.
Oh my gosh, I know. I've been so bad because I've just been so stressed.
Listen, no, hey, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I would like to say to the world as well that sometimes I just can't. Sometimes text messages or DMs come in, and I hold off a little bit, and I know I'll get to it later, but like that's a real thing. Having anxiety from the messages is a real thing.
Yeah, well, I'm also like, I'm prepping my live show, and then also at the same time prepping a DJ show, which is crazy because I've not DJed before.
Whoa, like ever? That shocks me. I guess, well, I don't know why that's so shocking to me. I guess every time I've seen you, it has been live, but I'm just so used to everyone being a DJ. Yeah.
I was like, I need to get on this. So yes, I learned, and I'm learning, and everything I do, I want to do it very well. So yeah, I've been practicing that, and I've got a DJ show coming up, which is so weird.
Hell yeah. I bet your selections are going to be fire, though. This is going to get weird, and it's going to be fun. Don't ever shy away from playing the weird track. It's going to be good.
I appreciate that because I love the weird stuff.
Yes. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all of your music. And I'm really excited. Do we know when Volume 3 is coming out? Can you say?
I believe in November.
Nice. Oh, and someone wants to know when the DJ show is happening.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Okay. Some things you can't say.
I sort of gave it away unintentionally.
Okay, that's all right. Don't tell anyone, internet. It's a
I sort
secret.
of unintentionally gave it away because I said I had 2 shows at something.
Oh, okay. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it hasn't been announced. So I don't know if they're like waiting or something. But I'm preparing for it.
Very exciting. Okay. That is very exciting. Well, it was such a pleasure speaking with you. I hope I get to run into you somewhere IRL. And
I will let you know, obviously if I'm going to be in the Bay Area.
Please
do. Let me know if
do.
you're out here too.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're in LA, right? I think I'm going to be coming there a little bit around Halloween-y time. So maybe we can do a Halloween-y hangout.
Home.
Oh, you won't. You'll be working. It's fine. It's the life of a producer.
I'll be home.
Oh, you will. Oh, okay, great.
Done. Basically, after Firefly, I'm pretty much done.
Let's make it happen. All right. Thank you so much. So much. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Enjoy your shows.
Oh my gosh,
Go become the best DJ on earth.
Get back to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.